Hello, everyone. This is the Henry Gerlits podcast. I am your host, Henry, and this is episode 2. I have with me my old friend, Jake Broe. Jake is a U.S. Air Force veteran, and most recently, he is a YouTuber. So, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, Jake?
Hey, Henry. It's great to join you today. In the event people don't know who I am, I am a former nuclear missile operations officer for the U.S. Air Force. I was a launch officer for the Minuteman III Intercontinental Ballistic Missile System. That's a lot to say. I served for 6 years, and then when I got out, I started making content full-time on YouTube. I actually separated from the Air Force the same week that Russia launched their full-scale invasion. I kind of made a one-off video giving my thoughts and reaction. This was the #1 news story in the world. And that was almost 4 years ago, and I'm still making daily content to battle Russian disinformation and support Ukraine because I think they're in the right. It's a worthy cause. This is a war of aggression against Ukraine, and I'm going to continue supporting them until hopefully we can defeat the Russians. I'm appearing on your channel because we knew each other in a previous life. We met in 2011, and I was teaching English in South Korea at the time. That's how we first met each other. So for anyone coming over to this channel from my channel, Henry is one of my oldest and dearest friends. So I'm excited to be here at the genesis of his new YouTube channel, and I get to watch his progression and what he is going to share with the world over the coming years, hopefully.
Jake, it's been really great to reconnect with you. I've been here in Vegas for about two and a half weeks now, and trying to learn as much as I can from you about YouTube. So, one of the first things that you showed me and that I was really interested about was your daily routine.
So every YouTuber is on their own schedule. I love the freedom that I have in that I can make all final decisions. There's nobody above me at Google or YouTube that I can talk to or get permission or have oversight. And I don't have any employees. Maybe someday I'll take on an assistant or somebody to help me with my channel. But at the moment, it's just me. And I'm currently managing 12 social media platforms. You can go on my YouTube page to see the links to all of them now. And I'm just trying to get my reach extended as far as possible, get my voice, the information that I think the world needs to better understand. And my daily routine, I try to publish my long form videos. These are about 30-minute war update videos on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. People always ask me, what's your upload schedule or what's your upload time? And because it's the news, I'm in a race every day I upload. I publish that thing as fast as I can get it out. I usually do about 3 or 4 hours of research the night before. I'm on the news sites that focus exclusively about the war in Ukraine. This is the Moscow Times, Euromaidan Press, the Kyiv Post, the Kyiv Independent. I'm then on Twitter, and I've got maybe about 50 primary sources, people who are reputable, who focus on the war in Ukraine. I just check all of their pages and I see what did they tweet in the last 2 days. And then I have browser tabs where I just try and organize and sort everything. That's about 4 hours the night before I film. I then go to bed. I wake up the next day. I have my breakfast. I shower. I see if anything big or disruptive happened while I was sleeping. I then add that to basically my outline for the episode. I then have to film. I then have to edit. I then have to make the thumbnail, the description, upload to YouTube. I try, if I have time, to do a video premiere. People really enjoy these. If they can catch me, a video premiere is like a live stream, but I'm not streaming. I pre-recorded and then uploaded. Once the video is premiered, I'm then monitoring the comments. I'm making clips. I'm uploading to Substack, Blue Sky, Threads, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere I can get my clips out to redirect people to watch my entire update video. But my workflow, let's say it's a Sunday video, I'm doing 4 hours of research on Saturday night. I wake up at 9. I'm usually not done with my day until 5 or 6 p.m. I then just repeat this process. Monday night for Tuesday's video, Wednesday night for Thursday's video. On Fridays and Saturdays, if I have time, I'll do either a podcast interview of my own, I've done about 40 interviews over the last 4 years, so I do them when I can, but it's not a primary focus of my channel. I then have my monthly question and answer videos where my subscribers can ask me anything about anything. I like getting random questions about maybe other topics or even U.S. politics. People want to know my thoughts and opinions about what happens daily in U.S. current events, but I just don't have time to make exclusive videos about Trump or Speaker Johnson or whatever that stuff is going on. But I do pay attention to the news. I'm on social media all day, every day. I do have thoughts and opinions. My primary focus, though, is just Ukraine at the moment, and I want to continue supporting them until the Russians are defeated.
Hopefully soon. Well, hearing about your schedule and your thought process, as a new YouTuber, this is something that I'm struggling with. Like you mentioned that you have that 4 hours, the night before you do your actual broadcast and your recording, you have 4 hours where you're going through. You mentioned 50 verified accounts, lots of news sites. What kind of advice do you have for people who would like to do that sort of focused research, but you mentioned that you had all your tabs open. How do you get around the distractions? This is what I've been struggling with. I've been doing some videos about AI and education. That's something that I'm interested in. I've been doing some YouTube videos about linguistics, about philosophy and history and pop culture. So I'm doing similar things where I'm trying to draw from different sources and put things together in my own way, make a commentary. But I definitely find it hard to keep that focus. And, in my opinion, it's taking me longer than it should. So what kind of advice do you have to stay focused for those 4 hours? How do you do it?
Everyone thinks differently, and I know your thinking process is unique and different than mine. And I wish I could give somebody a template to follow, but I really can't. I can give you some tips of things that I believe help me. And one of them is on the other social media platforms, I try to post less. I don't want to be knee-jerk reacting because these algorithms, they want to emotionally trigger you. They want you to be outraged. They want you to fire off a response or get upset about something. So I do try to detach while I'm doing the research. I don't want to be leaving comments. I don't want to be retweeting or getting into arguments. In general, that's a policy I have, is I don't argue with anyone on the internet. There's no benefit. Anybody who comes at me on social media for any reason, they have their own agenda. And I don't think I've ever convinced anyone of anything on the internet. I don't think you can. People who change their minds, if they ever do change their minds, they do it quietly. And they don't want to admit that their previous position was incorrect or that they took the wrong position. So I don't think engaging in debate in the comment section of posts and videos is ever really beneficial to anyone.
I will say there's one big exception for that. You said you don't think you've ever seen anyone change their mind. I have, but it's always very high profile, and there seems to be some kind of profit in it for that person. That when they make like a really big pivot.
If there's incentives there, yeah, you can come, you can see the lights, you can have the realization. Beyond that, I actually don't want to discourage branching off and going down rabbit holes. I have been scrolling online doing research for my process, and I'll find something very interesting. And sometimes I'll just minimize that in the new browser tab and say I'll come back to that later. Obviously, I got to keep going forward with my research. I got to keep planning for my video tomorrow. But I love discovering new things. I love discovering new accounts and getting to know new people and hearing new perspectives. My personal philosophy is I should always be learning. I am not the supreme final authority on anything. I know that I am incredibly ignorant on most things, as most people are. So you do need to have a certain level of humility, and you have to realize I am kind of just a stumbling idiot on most topics, but I want to get better. I want to learn more. I want to improve. And that's what I think the goal of every human being on the planet should be.
That's what I remember about you from when we knew each other in South Korea. So, I think I met you through your ex-girlfriend. She was also a teacher at the same university that I was teaching at in Korea. And so we met, we were playing some board games, but like we definitely started kind of a routine where we would go out maybe on a Saturday night, we'd play some magic cards, and we'd talk philosophy, we'd talk news, we'd talk all sorts of things. Like, and I remember that being like a unified purpose for you. Like there was one time I remember you saying, you just didn't understand why people didn't just sit on YouTube and learn stuff. Like you honestly didn't understand why people didn't do that. So I feel like that was something that has grown for you. Like that kind of purpose started there, and it's like, you know, growing out. Now you can, as a YouTuber yourself, you are starting to post what you learn, and you're helping other people learn. So being able to see you kind of really achieve that purpose has been really cool. So do you think that people struggle with that? Like people who are just aimlessly wandering around YouTube without a learning purpose?
YouTube is everything. YouTube is the world's second largest search engine after Google, and you can find or experience anything you want. And YouTube is just supply and demand. If the demand is there, it will be met by YouTubers creating original content. So for people who want to go on YouTube and just listen to music, that's great. People want to go on YouTube and just watch sports clips, great. That's never really been my thing. Going back to my teenage years, I didn't have any artistic or music innate talent, and I didn't have any special training to derive, satisfaction or pride from being artistic or musically inclined. I also wasn't that athletic. I tried 2 years, freshman and sophomore year, playing JV tennis, and I wasn't very good at tennis. I tried swimming. I wasn't the best at swimming either. So as a teenage boy, I realized, where am I going to get my self-worth? Where am I going to get my pride from? I said, I just have to get smart. I have to learn more, read more, and get better grades than other people if I want to have any self-worth as a 14, 15, 16-year-old boy. And I just fell in love with learning. And that's the way I've been my whole life. So when YouTube first came around, I really appreciated the early days of YouTube before Google bought it, because there was no copyright enforcement on the platform. You could watch, I binged all of Dragon Ball Z while on the original YouTube before they got copyright enforcement.
When was that? When did that switch over?
Google officially bought YouTube in like 2008, I think. And Google used to have their own competitive streaming platform. There used to be video.google.com. I think it might even still exist, but it was a rival competitive video upload platform. And it wasn't beating YouTube. YouTube was its own independent company that had a superior streaming platform and product. There were lots of early limitations at the beginning, like an uploaded video on YouTube couldn't be longer than 10 minutes originally. And I think Google said, they have a superior product, let's just buy them. So they offered, like a share package. And they, the three original founders of YouTube, got huge paychecks, but they probably long-term would have made a lot more money if they just stayed a separate independent company. And then they started acquiring other companies. Like if Google had never bought YouTube in 2008 or whatever, who knows? Maybe by 2011, YouTube would have bought Instagram rather than Facebook buying Instagram. And we'd have a completely different arrangement of these tech giants. But Google subordinated YouTube, which was financially very smart for Google, because Google can now, on search history, redirect people to YouTube, and they're still staying within the company. But yeah, I remember realizing really early on, I self-identify as a nerd fighter. That is the term for people who follow John and Hank Green. These are the Vlog Brothers. They started publishing their videos to each other almost 20 years ago on YouTube. But I remember finding them very early on and just liking their energy and their message and their general philosophy of lifelong learning. And I found other channels early on as well. SciShow, Veritasium, CGP Grey, Kurt's a God. And all these channels are still going 15, 16, 17 years later. And I click on the ones that interest me the most. But I used to be a serial watcher. I had my bookmarks, I had my favorite channels, and when I had my free time after teaching classes at the Korean elementary schools, I would just binge watch, SciShow and PBS Eons, and there's another channel called Extra Credits. I was just learning to learn because I enjoyed it, and I liked meeting up with you and being able to talk about, hey, I watched this YouTube video about some women have a fourth cone in their eye and they're able to see a million more colors than the average dude. And it's like 3% of the female population sees a million more colors than the average guy because of genetics and the Y chromosome limitations.
If they know who they are, like, do
there's
they
a
know
test
that
you
they're
can
seeing
take online, but it's just there's a million videos like that. I think there was a channel called Minute Physics that was really big back in like 2011, 2012, and you could learn something cool or interesting about physics in like 2 or 3 minutes. And
Jake, do you click on recommended videos on the right side? Because it sounds like you're very disciplined in the way that you consume media. You have a philosophy of learning. You have channels that you subscribe to and follow. But I would say, and I would admit that I am much more of the sort of an average person. Especially if I'm just, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm, I'm in line at the grocery store. I'm clicking around on things. I am totally guilty of letting the algorithm decide what I consume. So do you do that too, or do you find that you're able to remain mindful when you're consuming YouTube?
So YouTube used to allow you to show all of your channel subscriptions on the left. They were organized however you wanted. So I spent a lot of time back in 2013, 14. I had my subscriptions, I had my favorite channels, I had them organized in the path I wanted on the left side bar. And then YouTube took away that feature. They removed the ability for you to list and organize your favorite subscriptions on the left-hand column. And they lied and they said, we'll bring this feature back eventually. And they never did, because they want you clicking around aimlessly. They want you discovering, because that's when you binge. When you find a new channel and you like this channel, you binge. But if people log on to YouTube and they only watch the people they already know, well, what if those people haven't uploaded anything new that day? There were people getting on YouTube, going through their favorite channels. Nobody new had uploaded anything, so they just clicked out of YouTube. They went somewhere else. YouTube figured it out. If we hide people's subscriptions, if we make it difficult for them to watch the videos of the channels they like and subscribe to, and they're constantly just discovering new channels and then binging their content, they stay on the platform longer. YouTube makes more money.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think Facebook definitely changed too. I remember when Facebook was just your friends and family, just the pictures that they've shared and their status updates and things. And then it started to become a lot more than that. You would still see your friends and family as you scrolled up and down your timeline, but you would also see a lot more.
It was the timeline. They want you constantly discovering new things and then clicking on their page, binging their content, staying engaged with the platform as long as possible. Whatever, it's a business decision. People can still manually type in their favorite channels, or the new system is the bell icon. You click the bell icon and you'll get notifications whenever someone uploads, but YouTube is kind of a mess. So your original question, do I ever click on the recommends? And I occasionally do, but I also have discipline and I say, I don't really want to get to know a new person. I don't really want to get to know a new channel. Like, I already have so many channels that I follow and enjoy and like, and I don't even have time to watch them. So it's really hard to just to take the algorithm's word for it, given that everyone is trying to optimize their thumbnail and their title to be as clickbaity as possible. So when something is recommended to me, I usually think it's probably not worth my time. But if it shows up on the other platforms, if people are sharing on Facebook and Twitter and Blue Sky a YouTube video that's going viral, then I'll say, okay, this has reached the next level. It's permeated beyond just the YouTube recommended algorithm. And now other people on the other platforms are talking about it. That's usually when I'll say, all right, I need to check this out. I don't know who this person is talking. I don't know why this is going viral. usually they show the view count, and if it's got like more than 1 million views in a couple days, then I know something about this is fire. So then I'll check it out and I'll see if I can meet somebody new or learn something new.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like you definitely have a mindful and disciplined attitude, even when you kind of maybe relaxing on YouTube. I think a lot of people will just use YouTube as a place to zone out, and that those are the people, like I said, myself included, that can kind of get just trapped in the algorithm, trapped in the recommended videos there. Yeah. I wanted to get back to teaching for a second though, because it's interesting how most people who are abroad in Korea doing teaching, they might come back to the States. I know that was your mission, to come back to the States, but did you ever consider going into the public school?
My story of returning to America. Well, actually, let's just go back in time to 2009. That's when I went to Korea, February of 2009. This was the great financial recession. Unemployment in the United States is over 10%. I was burnt out from school. I had been a student my entire life, and I said, I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to do something new and exciting. And I had a friend who was already over there teaching, and he convinced me on the idea. And when I got to Korea in 2009, I fell in love with the place. Within 3 months, I knew I was probably going to stay there for multiple years. The original plan was just go for 1 year and then go to law school. I took the LSAT and I thought about becoming a lawyer. I'm glad I didn't do that. But when I got to Korea, that was my first time leaving the American bubble. And I saw a country where mass transit works, healthcare works, government more or less works pretty well. There are no failing schools in South Korea. Every child goes to school and they have a good teaching staff. They have good facilities. They have good resources.
Well, there's a special reason for that.
Well, yes, there is. In America, we have the budget for schools be based on property taxes of your local area or district, whereas in Korea, it's just one big federal system.
But there's also another reason with the teachers are forced to move. I don't know, remember if it's every 3 years or every 4 years, but they're forced to move around. You can't stay.
Correct.
You can't stay and just kind of get tenure at one school and kind of dig in. So and a lot of the younger teachers end up being in the rural schools in the beginning, and I think you get certain points for certain places that you're at. I don't exactly remember the whole system, but like you said, it's funded federally, and it's also not so locally. I don't want to say that, like not locally controlled.
It was the Gwangju MOE, the Metropolitan Office of Education, and within the district, I mean, this is 1.5 million people. This is a massive city. But it's like this in all the provinces. All the teachers are constantly being shuffled around. So there's a mixture of young teachers and old teachers, new teachers and experienced teachers, good teachers and bad teachers. So they're constantly being shuffled to make it as homogenous and fair as possible. Now, once you get to the middle school level and the high school level, it does change. They do have charter and magnet and special schools. And I don't know if the high school teachers switch every 4 years or whatever. But on the elementary level, there's no reason why there should be good schools and bad schools. Every school in the country is, I think, a safe and good place for your child to go at least through 6th grade. So I just was very impressed with this, that everyone's being taken care of. It's a government that functions efficiently, and teachers are very well respected over there, where in the United States, you could probably talk about this, they're not so much. Yeah. So going back to your original question, when I got to Korea, I didn't feel challenged after a couple years. The first year was very difficult. By the second year, you're able to start learning what works, what doesn't. You can repeat lessons. By my 3rd year, 4th year, I had basically maxed out the experience of being an ESL teacher in South Korea. And by the age of 30, I made that decision. I said, I either have to be an ESL teacher in South Korea, marry a Korean woman, start having Korean kids, and just stay here for the rest of my life. And it would have been a very good life. I would have been treated very well. I would have made a good salary, good benefits. I loved the restaurants, the culture, the feeling of being a young person in South Korea. But I knew I wouldn't have been intellectually stimulated enough singing days of the week and, teaching third graders colors and animals and stuff like that. Like,
It was
it
so
was
fun to
cute.
see those videos, by the way, the last couple of days when we were going back through memories. That was great.
On my channel membership, I have shared videos from my time as an English teacher in South Korea if anyone here wants to check them out.
Yeah.
But I knew I wasn't being challenged, and I knew I didn't want to do that for another couple decades. That's when I got the idea to move back to the United States. I was debt free. I had savings. I was doing fine. And I was exploring applying to the State Department as a Foreign Service Officer. I didn't think I was going to get it, and I didn't get it. I experienced a coding boot camp. I was trying to say, what's a high paying job I can get in the United States that would be challenging and rewarding? And I was looking at coding at the time, but I just didn't enjoy. I was learning Ruby on Rails and Python and all these other programming languages, and I just didn't feel inspired by it at all. And that's when I had the idea of commissioning as an officer in the Air Force. My father's a veteran. It's something I always explored or considered. And because I already had a college degree, I was eligible to go through officer training school. It was 11 weeks, and then you're a commissioned second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. And I am so grateful that I did that. I know every veteran, their experience in whatever branch or whatever career field is unique and different. Some people join the United States military and do not have a positive experience. I'm not taking that away from anyone, but I was treated very well. I always had good people, colleagues that I worked with. I felt like my superiors, my commanding officers, always were fair to me and treated me with respect. I learned a lot. It was a valuable experience. I got great benefits, the GI Bill, the VA loan. But the career field that my country put me in was very difficult. Nuclear missile operations. I was sleeping underground in a launch control capsule 80 or 90 nights out of a year.
Wow.
And as a single dude, it wasn't disruptive to my family because I don't have a wife or kids, but I saw what this career field was like for people who were married and had kids, and having to be away from the house, being away from young kids 80 or 90 nights out of the year to sleep
You were
in the
in
missile
North
fields.
Dakota, is that right? Minot?
North Dakota. The missile fields are in Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, and North Dakota. So I knew that I just wasn't going to do 20 years on active duty to get the pension in this career field. It was physically killing me. I couldn't do the drives. I didn't like being underground. It was really noisy. You're literally trapped inside this capsule with another human being for 24 hours. Can't get away from each other. But I'm proud that I got my honorable discharge. I served with honor, and I met incredible people, and I'm so grateful. But yes, as a YouTuber, being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, I feel much happier and much more content with my life now.
That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely inspired by your routines and the systems that you've built for yourself. I think a lot of people, if they were to work from home and they didn't have, a boss, they didn't have, external deadlines, they would struggle with that. So, do you have some systems and routines that really help you stay focused and not get scattered?
I don't really have much of a social life, so I don't have much to distract me. I have a girlfriend, and we obviously see each other several times a week, and that's kind of my in-person social interaction. Beyond that, I am just talking to and communicating people all day, every day, but it's online. It's through emails and direct messages, and I've done probably more than 100 interviews, podcasts on other channels. So I'm talking to people and interacting with people who I consider my friends. I consider Artur Rehi to be my friend. I consider Dennis Davidoff to be my friend. These are other YouTubers also in the pro-Ukraine information sphere. But I don't have to see them. The only other YouTuber I've ever spent time with in person is Ryan Macbeth, who's also my friend. Ryan Macbeth is a great guy. He comes to Vegas occasionally for other things, and when he does, we can go out and get dinner and share stories.
Sounds good. Well, hey,
So
I wanted to ask you. I'm sure your fans will appreciate this question. Maybe a lot of people wonder. You're a bachelor. You're not married. So, do you have any plans to get married and have kids sometime? I mean, I'm not saying like in the next couple years, but sometime in the future. Like, what's the Jake Broe life plan?
I am 41, and I do believe I do want to get married and have kids someday. I was always on the fence. You know, if
Mm,
you asked me that question in my 20s or even early 30s, do you want to have a family? Do you want to have kids? And my answer was always I could go either way. If it
mm.
happens, great. I'll love them and make the best of it. If it doesn't happen,
Make the
I
best of it, huh?
well, it's a
Go
huge
on, go.
commitment.
Yeah, yeah,
It's you know it's a 18-year at least legally
yeah,
dedication. And I see you, Henry, because you are married with two kids, and we took diverging paths.
mm,
And there are just lots of things that you haven't been able to do because your
for
children
sure.
and your wife are your primary focus. And that's the way it should be. When you make that commitment, when you make that decision to bring life into this world, then you can't go to Chichen Itza for somebody's 40th birthday, which I was able to do in May.
Yeah,
There
sweet.
are things that I've done and opportunities that I've had because I've put in the time on social media and YouTube that I wouldn't have had. But
Mm.
at the same time, like I am pushing the clock back. Guys can cheat and they can wait until they're older in life to start a family. And now that I've achieved a certain level of success and independence and security, like I feel very secure about my current social media influencer career, whatever you want to call it, where I do feel like I can support a family comfortably and even scale back how much I work in order
Yeah,
to
that
make
was my
time
next
for that
question.
family.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you think your life would change after getting married and having kids?
Well, I need this war to end
Mm,
because I work like 100 hours a week. It's what I do all day, every day. And my current girlfriend is very understanding about my commitments because I am fully committed to seeing Russia defeated and Ukraine supported for as long as it takes, whatever it takes. But the war needs to end, and then I can potentially change the topic of my channel, make less content, spend less time on social media, which would be
mhm.
fantastic, by the way, and make time maybe to start a family. But
Yeah.
I don't have the luxury at the moment to plan for anything really, because I am so focused on my work and what I do. It consumes every moment of my day.
Well, I see that. I see that commitment. I know that you're not even thinking about it until the war ends. I know your role in terms of communication out to so many people, all the money that you've raised has been incredible. So thank you so much for all that work that you do. I think that a lot of people out there are searching for purpose, and if they check out your channel and check out not only the content, the information that you impart, but also we can feel your spirit, we can feel your energy when you're talking about this stuff.
I just try to be authentic. And I do want to say, Henry, that I am grateful that there is, I feel like this cosmic justice in the universe, in that I have always tried to be a good person. I have always tried to do the right thing. And the fact that I can start a YouTube channel and then accumulate 600,000 subscribers who respond to me when I try to do the right thing, I try to be honest, I try to be a good person, it's very encouraging because I know there's so much negativity on social media, so much negativity online, so much negativity in the world. But I try to create this space where I try to add value. I try to be positive. I want the good guys to win. I understand it's not perfectly black and white. There's still lots of complicated issues, but for me and Russia, it couldn't be any more clear cut. They are the aggressors. This is an imperial war. They are conducting a genocide, and this needs to be stopped as quickly as possible for really the safety of the entire world. Given Russia's position on the UN Security Council and their possession of 6,000 nuclear warheads, this mafia state cannot continue to exist, where they just threaten their neighbors and then invade and kill people when they don't get everything they want.
So we were talking about purpose, and it's really cool to see that you found your purpose. So that's something that I'm still kind of searching for. So one of the things that has really been interesting to me ever since I think it was late 2022 when ChatGPT first came out, and Like I was just so taken by it. To me, it felt just as significant as the early internet back in the mid '90s. I couldn't stop talking. I couldn't stop talking about it to my students actually, and my fellow teachers kept saying, stop telling them about ChatGPT. They're gonna cheat. But for me, it was just this wonderful new technology. So ever since then, I've been really interested in that. But just being a public school teacher, it's been hard for me to take the time to do my own research on these things, or to try to integrate things into my teaching. We talked about juggling family, juggling work, and all those things. But I have time now, so I've been really interested in AI and education. So what have you seen in your social media explorations about the emerging importance of AI in education in other places?
It's actually been fascinating for me spending time with you the last 2 weeks, Henry, because I never use AI. And you showed up and you said, I want my YouTube channel to focus on education and AI. And you kept talking about your positive interactions with ChatGPT and in general artificial intelligence. And it is weird because I don't know anyone who uses AI on a daily basis. And then you showed up and you are trying to sell me on this is the greatest thing ever. And I see the utility, I see the benefits, but at the same time, AI terrifies me. Because if we surrender our ability to think for ourselves, or to even research or learn things for ourselves, I feel like that's a lost skill. And potentially this is a topic you could explore with children being exposed to AI. Why would you ever learn how to teach yourself to do something when AI can just perfectly spell it out to you, or even calibrate it for you based on your previous search history or even your age? I understand the potential here. But at the same time, it freaks me out. I just think about kind of the Black Mirror dystopian.
Sure.
I hope none of it comes to be. And most of the time, science fiction gets it incorrect. I think about all these science fiction movies I grew up with in the 1980s and 1990s, and most of it's nonsense. Nobody predicted social media and the impact that would have on our society. People always kind of predicted AI, but never in its current form with, I think, the applications that are coming. So I have only really thought about or explored AI from a financial standpoint because I made so many of these I was a finance YouTuber before talking about the war in Ukraine.
Here's an analogy that might be helpful. I just thought of this now, so you can tell me if this analogy doesn't really hold up. So, back a long time ago, before spreadsheets, people used to do accounting on paper. So they had many more steps. It took a lot longer to do. But then we got Microsoft Excel, and I'm sure there are some other programs before that. But you can do so much with Excel, right? But as the human, you're the director of you're putting the numbers in. You're directing the Excel spreadsheet to do these functions. You're directing it to generate these charts, things like that. That's kind of the way I see AI moving into at least a workspace. People are going to be able to do things so much faster because they have this sort of sentient AI spreadsheet, but it can do things that are not related to numbers at all. It can do writing. It can do tasks like booking hotels. You can just kind of sort of talk to it and say, hey, I would like you to plan this trip for me. I want to go to Mexico for 1 week. Here's my price range. These are the places that I want to go to. This is the person I'm traveling with. We have these dietary restrictions. We like this type of music. We all those things. You could just say that, and in several minutes, maybe everything would be booked. So I think that's what's really exciting, that you're able to shortcut all of these steps. So I understand what you're saying about the research skills that are being cut out, but you still don't want to give it a try. I know you said you've never even tried. You haven't installed ChatGPT on your phone or anything, right?
I'm going to wait for the fallout. I'm going to wait to see what are the researched consequences of chronic long-term AI use on people before I start exposing that to myself, because I'm already doing pretty well. Now, going back to your original thought process here, there's a quote that jumped out to me that I can't remember who I attribute it to, but all progress in civilization is a result of our technological advancement. Time is finite. The amount of time that a human being has is the same as it was 10,000 years ago. So all societal, all civilizational progress is a result of technology getting better, whether that is the wheel, whether that is the axle, or fast forward to radio, television, the internet, and now AI. But there's this scene from The Matrix that came out in 1999 where Agent Smith is talking to Morpheus and he said, "This is the peak of your civilization." But really, once we're the ones who started thinking for you, it really became our civilization. I'm not saying that AI is going to destroy the world and try and kill humanity. I'm not a doomsday like that. But I do think people will become dependent on AI to such an extent that they won't be able to function like a normal human being can today, for example. I just see so many applications like a 10-year-old being exposed to AI, and they've always had it. Now, maybe the AIs in the future will take on a human persona and a human voice. And I think I even gave you this scenario the other day when we were talking about this, that you can hold your camera on your phone up to your face and then record your voice, record your face, and create a new AI avatar. And let's say you do this with your parents. Your parents are getting older in age, and you want to immortalize them. So you have your father and mother or whatever take like a 5-minute video, and then an AI is able to create a model from this person that then on your phone will speak to you for the rest of your life in their face, in their voice. And you have like a serious emotional connection to someone who has your mother's face and mother's voice on your phone, talking to you, giving you advice, recommending you, giving you cooking instructions, giving you marital advice. Like, to me, this is terrifying, because why would you ever have a normal human interaction ever again? Why would you make real connection?
Yeah, I saw that there was a news story about I think he was a victim of a school shooting, and they did an AI reconstruction of his voice. I'm not sure if they did his face as well, but then they had this person who was a victim of a school shooting as a kind of an advocate for gun reform laws or something along those lines, and people could interact with him, and he would speak in his own voice and kind of give opinions and things like that. We should look that up, and maybe we can put it in the show notes. But that sounds very similar to what you're saying with that. Yeah, wow, I can see that. And this is already a big problem with AI, people forming emotional attachments like to an AI like boyfriend or girlfriend. Your example of a deceased parent sounds much worse, but in terms of day-to-day life with people who they might even be in a relationship and then they form another connection to an AI. That's really scary to me.
Or what about a parent with a deceased child, maybe a child who died of cancer or a car accident, and then the AI is able to age the child in real time as if they never died. Goodness.
You've thought about this. I can see. Yeah. Yikes.
I mean, it's Black Mirror. Yeah. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna hold off. I don't want to be an early adopter on AI. I want to see what it does to other people, but I understand that I am limiting myself. Like when I do a Google search or a YouTube search to figure out how to change, the sprinkler system on my house, I know I could probably go to AI and get the explanation faster. But I'm not going to give up this landline skill equivalent that I've had my entire life. Skill. And I want to see if this is going to be an advantage to me. I don't know. I just think it's way too early. Another thing, Henry, I want to say is I do not trust the tech billionaires that are creating these large language models. Grok, this is Elon Musk's artificial intelligence. Grok repeats Kremlin propaganda. Grok defends Elon. So anytime someone has an AI conversation about Elon Musk, this thing is not neutral. It's not independent. It's not unbiased. It has an agenda. You are being manipulated. So now we have these rival AIs that spit out different things, all pretending to be this all-knowing source of information when it's still humans behind them. It's still humans
Yeah.
manipulating and controlling them with the
Right.
objective of manipulating and controlling people. And
Right.
just with
Right.
US politics, this is very dangerous in that people on social media and news, they have confirmation bias. They just seek out the sources that already confirms what they want to be true, and they avoid all contrarian information. So right now, these large language models are all trying to pretend like they're neutral, but they're not. And their real biases from their corporate owners are going to be exposed. But those are the people that you're going to seek out. Like, if you're a MAGA diehard alt-right conservative or whatever, you're going to be telling all of your family and friends and your kids, you're only allowed to use Grok AI. Don't you dare use Gemini. That's for liberals. That's for,
Wow.
lefties or whatever. But
Everything is polarized for sure. Yeah.
but people, I think, are going to use these to just, seek out their own confirmation biases, and they're going to have teams, and they're going to be cheerleading, and then, by 2046, we'll get to the big AI wars where people have chosen their
That's
AI
exactly the
god that
phrase I
they
was
want
gonna
to
use
follow
too.
and fight for in the real
The
world.
AI wars. Waving your Grok flag or waving your whatever Gemini flag. Oh man, yeah. I was to get back to and that's all about emotion, right? So to get back to emotion and AI and education, we started using a bit of AI in my classroom. So we had an app called Writable, which was it's kind of a writing platform that you do shared writing, you could do peer-reviewed writing. There was all kinds of interesting writing prompts and challenges and things there too. But one of the features was an AI corrector. So in a similar way that a teacher would go through and do grammar checks, spell checks, but it could also do content checks. So it could identify your thesis or lack thereof. It could talk about cohesion in your paragraph, things like that. So I use that with my students, and of course, the motivated students are going to take anything. They could probably learn on their own from a book without any prompting. So the motivated students took very, very well to that kind of AI feedback. But the vast majority of students, and I would say even the kind of average students, they just saw it as more just information overload, like just something to click through quickly. So and just contrasting that with the emotional response people get from a confirmation bias on an AI, or an AI boyfriend or girlfriend, or an AI deceased parent or something. Like I think it's the emotion that was missing. And that's often what makes an effective teacher, is an emotional connection, a personal connection, a human connection. But as we're blurring those lines between AI just used as a, just for functionality, versus AI used for companionship or for any kind of emotional connection, I'm wondering if that's the key. But that's such a dangerous path to go on, to incorporate some sort of emotional connection of AI into teaching. But I think it would make it more effective, but it would also be quite scary.
It's empty calories. I think I think this is all emotionally a dead end for humanity. I don't know what will snap us out of it. Like, if there's some kind of movement 20 years from now or 30 years from now where like you choose a lifestyle basically equivalent to the Amish today. The Amish, for their own cultural reasons, reject electricity and modern technology. They want to basically freeze their lifestyle standards comparable to like 1900 or whatever. There might be people, Americans or whoever, that say the same thing. Like, we're going to go back to the year 2022. That was right before OpenAI launched ChatGPT. And that's the only technology we're allowed to have. We're not going to have AI or anything that AI has produced or spawned. And those will be 21st century Amish Americans or whatever. I don't know. It is fascinating to see where this could go. Lots of possibilities.
Well, I think that it's a good parallel to the Amish, because I feel like for a lot of people in the near future, it will not be a choice. So think about, again, the spreadsheet analogy. Like, say for whatever reason you were a Luddite who didn't want to use Microsoft Excel, and you just wanted to do everything by hand, maybe with a calculator, maybe not. You drew your line wherever, but you're not using Excel. You're not really employable, right? So I think that's the worry for people in the future is, even if you have this aversion to AI, you don't want it in your life. You think it's an emotional dead end, empty calories for humanity, which I think you have a really good point there. But what if it becomes so integrated into the American corporate work life, or not even corporate life, and all parts of life, so that it becomes almost impossible? I think a lot of parents struggle with this. Parents who don't want to, go on the internet too much, or don't want their kids on the internet. So many things, like for my kids' elementary school, all the information is shared online, shared through text messages. I could not exist online and still be a parent, but it would be a huge hassle. If I had tons of time to work like that, that would be fine. But for most people, it's just not a possibility. So that could be a problem in the future if AI is just so integrated that we can't extricate it from our lives.
I feel like the standard for who is employable is going to have to lower, and they're just going to be doing less, because like companies still need to hire people and pay them, because like I don't think that AI is coming for everyone's job, because I don't think society would tolerate that unless we created universal basic income and just nobody has to work anymore because AI is so productive and so profitable. We just redistribute the wealth that it generates from these for-profit companies. I mean, we could do that. Or it's the Jetsons. George Jetson would show up to work every day after dropping off his wife and kids, and he pushed a red button, and then he sat at a desk for 8 hours, and then he went home. All he had to do was push a button, and that was his job.
That's not going to happen with the corporate efficiency. It's never going to happen.
I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't. Here's the thing. Every time someone tries to predict the future, they're wrong. They're wrong every time. So what is the world, what is the economy going to look like 30 years from now? One of the most famous videos I saw that I really enjoyed was it showed the top 20 companies in the S&P 500 changing over time. So their market cap valuation, like they're like shrinking and growing in real time as this chart like restacks them with their size. And all of the largest companies in America in 2000 are off the list. They're not there anymore. So like
Microsoft was there, I would think.
No, it wasn't in the top 10 or top 20 or whatever.
Okay.
So within a 20-year period, the 10 or the 20 largest companies in America all changed.
Wow.
Now, maybe we've entered the end of the business cycle in America, and Nvidia and Apple and Meta will always be the largest companies in America going forward, or something's going to change and we're going to get disruption, and nobody is going to predict what is coming and how it's going to change society 10, 15 years from now. I don't know. We're going to find out.
Yeah, we will. And that's what's hard as an educator, to stand in front of a high school class and talk about the future, talk about the importance of writing. It's definitely getting harder to sell that as an idea, because it's the old argument, oh, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time. The math teachers used to say that, but now we do. And now we also have a pocket writer. In terms of convincing students that it's important to understand these skills and develop themselves as people, as well-rounded citizens, as well-rounded humans, virtuous humans, I think maybe getting back to that idea might be better, rather than a kind of a skills upgrade model, which is how we've been talking about education for a long time now.
What children learn in school, it's not about the product. It's not about the result. It's about the process. You need to learn how to learn. It's not what you're learning that matters so much. And I don't think I figured this out until I was an adult. But when I was sitting in all these classes in middle school and high school, I had that same thought. Why do I need to learn this? Why do I need to know this? Like, I had a really bad attitude, 8th grade, freshman year, sophomore year, a little bit. But then when I got to college, I figured out, oh, it doesn't really matter what you learn. You just have to learn how to learn. And then you can spend the rest of your life learning. And that's always been my strength. That's always been a benefit to me. That's always been a positive force in my life. And I get to know and I meet people who don't know how to learn. They never learned how to learn. And those people struggle. Those people face obstacles and they just surrender. They give up so easily. The first point in which it's not easy for them, they get frustrated and they ignore it. They walk away from it. They make excuses and then they never evolve.
Or maybe they reach for the AI. Maybe that's why it scares you so much, is because that's the response. That could be the response of some people who are facing their first frustration with learning. And if they're able to just reach for that AI and ask the question and get the knowledge just like that, they're almost just downloading the knowledge into their brain instead of building those process connections. So I can see why it scares you.
What do you got coming up, Henry? What are you going to be working on your channel? What's your next video idea?
My next video idea. Well, I'm thinking about connecting the philosophy of Epicurus, who was a Greek philosopher, around the time of Aristotle, known for, the word Epicureanism is known as kind of being a gourmet, enjoying the finer things in life. But the original Epicurus was a man who liked simple pleasures, yes, simple pleasures of food and friendship, not hedonism, not gluttony or anything like that. So I'd like to teach my channel subscribers about Epicurus through the Tolkien's hobbits. I think are a really good example of an Epicurean society. So that's the next video I'm thinking of. I really like connecting things in pop culture, like science fiction and fantasy, to deeper ideas in philosophy, history, things like that. So my brain is always making these random connections in a similar way that you're a lifelong learner. I am too, and I'm really excited to share what I'm learning and share what I'm thinking about with the world.
Well, that sounds fascinating. I can't wait to watch that video. If you've made it this far in the podcast and you haven't subscribed to Henry's channel, go down there, give him a subscribe, watch his next video. He'd greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And well, thank you so much, Jake, for coming on. And it was great to talk with you. And I'm going to have some second thoughts about the way that I think about AI. I've definitely learned a lot from this conversation.
All right, Henry, take care.